Okay, common factoring. In this case, we have two questions that are a little more difficult here. I'm going to try to do this the faster way. Very quickly, we have our coefficients, so 10 and 15. We're looking for the largest common factor. In this case, I can tell you that's actually going to be the number 5. So we're going to divide both of these by 5. And in this case, we have variables that have exponents larger than 1. So we look for the exponent of the lowest value. And in this case, that's y to the power of 3. So we're actually going to divide both of these by y to the power of 3. Okay. When we do that, that becomes the term on the outside, y to the power of 3. And then we actually carry out our division to figure out what the terms are the inside of this bracket. 10 divided by 5 gives us 2. And y to the power of 5 divided by y to the power of 3, we subtract the exponents. 5 subtract 3 gives you 2. So you have y to the power of 2. Here we have negative 15 divided 5, so that's actually negative 3. And then y cubed divided by y cubed is just 1. We don't actually have to write that value of 1 in. Oh, I did it. Let's undo that. We don't actually have to write that value in. Oh man, that's going to erase everything. There we go. Because we know 1 times anything is just the value itself. Just to reverse this process to make sure it makes sense to us, that is a factoring process. But if we wanted to distribute again, we would take this original value just to double check that we did everything correctly. And we could distribute this to go back to the original. So there's a way of checking here. If I distribute this term by both of these, I end up with 5 times 2, which I know gives me 10, and y cubed times, y, oh, I wrote the value down wrong. I knew something was off there. This should be a 2. Y cubed times y squared, well, we add the exponents and we get y to the power of 5. And then the second one, 5y cubed times negative 3. Well, negative 3 times 5 is negative 15, and there's no other variable to multiply, so we just bring along the original, y cubed, and we're back at where we started. So that's a way of checking. We can distribute. It's the opposite process of factoring is distributing, okay? The next one here is a tougher question. There's 3 different terms, and there's looks like 3 different variables also attached to these things. So we're going to go a little methodically here. We're going to divide each of these by something to find a common factor. We'll look at the coefficients first. 8, 6, 4. 4 is a nice number. It definitely goes into 8, but is not a factor of 6, so it won't work for us. So 2 is going to be the greatest common factor. So we're going to divide all of these by the value of 2. Okay. The next thing we look at is x. We have x cubed, x squared, and x squared. That's great. We have x squared as our lowest variable power. So we're going to say x squared is what we're going to divide by. Then we'll look at y cubed, y squared, and just y. Y is, always remember, technically to the power of 1. That's our lowest value one, so we're going to divide by y in each of these. Sorry, I forgot to write it over here also. And z, well, technically, this is z to the power of 1. There are no z's here. I'm going to make a mathematical argument here. You could say that z to the power of 0 is in both of those. But any number to the power of 0 is just 1. And that would mean we divide by 1, which we know isn't going to change anything. So there's no real way no point to thinking of it that way. Let's see if I can erase it without getting rid of everything else. There we go. So just keep that in mind, okay? Because there's really no other z's in the rest of that, we're not going to divide by z, okay? This will still be our common factor. So we'll write it first, the 2x squared times y. And we just got to methodically go through the division process here. 8 divided by 2 gives us 4. X cubed divided by x squared is just x because we subtract the exponents. 3 subtract 2 is 1. I don't have to write the 1 in. Y cubed divided by y is y squared. So that's our first term. Second term, negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. X squared divided by x squared is 1. And 1 times anything is itself, so we won't write that in. And y squared divided by y just gives us y. And finally, our last term. 4 divided by 2 gives us 2. X squared divided by x squared, again, they disappear. Y divided by y, they disappear. When I say disappear, they become 1s. And then we have z, and we don't divide anything by z, so z is going to stay. And that would be our common factoring